Good afternoon. I'd like to call the February 19th, 2026 meeting of the Santa Fe County Planning Commission to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Here.
Here? Thank you very much. Please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. The next item is approval of the agenda. Staff, are there any changes to the agenda?
Chair, Planning Commission members, there is no change to the agenda.
Thank you very much. May I get a motion to approve the agenda?
That's with the third case being tabled.
Right, it was posted to be tabled, so I think there is no change from that posting.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I motion to approve the agenda with the one table.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The agenda is approved. Next is approval of the meeting minutes from the January 15th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting. May I get a motion to approve the agenda? The minutes, I'm sorry. Motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the minutes.
So we have a motion and a second. Are there any edits or corrections that anyone has noticed? I found one thing on page 9, paragraph 1. The word irritable should actually be irrigable. It's about irrigation rather than irritation. So if we could make that change, that would be great. So we have a motion and a second. Please, all those in favor of approving the agenda with that slight modification, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we have case number 25-5260, John Timkowicz, Eunice Trujillo Timkowicz, and Debbie Trujillo variance. Thanks very much. Maria, you'll be presenting.
There it is. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Marie Martinez, Building and Development Review Specialist with the Growth Management Division. Case 25-5260, John Timkowicz, Eunice Trujillo Timkowicz, and Debbie Trujillo variance. John Timkowicz, Eunice Trujillo Timkowicz, and Debbie Trujillo applicants request a density variance of Chapter 8, Table 8-11, Dimensional Standards, Residential Community. The subject property is within the Residential Community Zoning District, Res C. The property is located at 24 Ceramic Court and lies within Commission District 5. The lot was created by deed in 1978. The subject property is 3.271 acres and consists of 5 dwelling units. Evidence found that 1 dwelling unit was permitted, 11 Trinity, and the other 4 were not. 4 of the structures, 24A Ceramic Court, 24B Ceramic Court, and 12A Trinity Road and 12B Trinity Road, were developed without permits. Although a mobile home is identified in aerials as legal nonconforming, that structure has since been replaced or modified. The property is served by a single well, RG-28908, and 4 liquid waste systems that have been reviewed by the New Mexico Environment Department and deemed insufficient with a number of bedrooms that exist in each dwelling. Eunice Trujillo Timkowicz and her husband, John M. Timkowicz, own the structures to the south, with Debbie Trujillo owning the structures to the north. The applicants are requesting the density variance in order to create two-lot residential subdivision. Each lot would be approximately 1.63 acres, with the northern lot consisting of 2 dwellings and the southern lot consisting of 3 dwellings. The base zoning of the property, Res C, allows for 1 dwelling unit per 1 acre. The applicants have addressed the variance criteria as follows. Building and Development Service staff has reviewed this request for compliance with pertinent SLDC requirements and has found that the facts presented support the request for a variance. Recommendation. On January 8, 2026, this request was presented to the Sustainable Land Development Hearing Officer. The hearing officer memorialized findings of fact and conclusion of law in a recommended order on this request. The recommendation of staff and the recommendation of the hearing officer, based on the evidence presented, is for denial of the request to allow a variance of density of Chapter 8, Table 8-11, Dimensional Standards, Res C, Residential Community of the SLDC, which allows 1 dwelling unit per 1 acre. If the Santa Fe Planning Commission finds the application has met the variance criteria and recommends approval of the variance, staff recommends the following conditions be imposed. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, may I enter these conditions into the record?
Yes, please do.
This report and the exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Thank you, and at this time, I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions of staff?
I have a question about, so I think NMED said that the septic systems, it wasn't enough for the amount of bedrooms that, for all the houses. But then one of the conditions says if this was approved, no more septic would be allowed.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Mr. Timkowicz went by environmental, or he spoke with environmental, and they sent an updated email, which is part of Exhibit J. And they're saying that after, let's see, just a second. Condition 6, applicant shall obtain necessary liquid waste permits from NMED and comply with all applicable requirements and conditions. The applicant will also need to address the concerns of the NMED on all 4 liquid waste permits, will require amendments to reflect a new ownership, property size, and UPC number upon property split.
Are there any other questions? Commissioner Trujillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. So just so I can understand this better, currently this is deeded as a 3.271 acre lot, and they're looking to split it into 2 residential lots of 1.63. Now there's no restrictions. They can do this legally at this time. Is that correct?
According to zoning, that property is zoned for 1 dwelling per 1 acre, and at this time, they have 5 dwelling units on the property, so it's the density.
Okay, but I guess my question is that the first step here is for the subdivision into 2 lots, and there's nothing preventing them from doing that currently, is there?
Mr. Chair, Commission Member Trujillo, so yes, as it is right now, they are not able to divide the land because neither one of the structures qualify as an accessory dwelling unit. They're actually primary dwellings. And so if they were to try and be split right now, The northern lot would have 2 primary dwellings where only 1 is allowed. And then the southern lot would have 3 primary dwellings where only 1 is allowed.
And so they're asking for a density variance, but it doesn't meet the accessory dwelling because it's not half the size of the house that's, or the, of what could be the larger house. Is that correct?
That is correct. They don't meet size requirements, and I believe, obviously, 4 of them, since they have 4 different septics, don't meet the shared utility qualification as well.
Okay, and so they can't do this first step only because there is already 2 homes or 3 homes on each of these lots,
In order to split the lot, they'd need the variance approval.
just to split the lot, okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions of commissioners? Commissioner Pava?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Marie. I have a question about the any similar situations in the surrounding area. When I zoomed out on an aerial and looking at how the area has developed over the years, there's quite a variety of housing types. It's a little bit hard to tell whether other density variances may have been granted. Do you have any insights about that?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Pava, I do not. I do not.
I guess the other question I have, just stepping back a little bit, would be how did this come to the county's attention? How did the applicants become applicants? How did that happen? Because apparently several of the structures don't have building permits, and one that does is for a second-story addition. So could you fill us in a little bit more on the background of that, please?
Mr. Timkovich and his wife and his sister-in-law came in to do a lot split, or request a lot split, and that's where we found out about the dwellings that weren't permitted, and that's when they we discussed with them doing a variance.
Any other questions of Commissioner Bruger?
Ms. Martinez, I have a few questions.
Okay.
So the first, if I understand it right, when following up on Commissioner Milligan-Pierard's question, the last memo that NMED sent, if I understood it right, it was an approval as long as the minimum size of the south parcel was 1.65 acres? Is that correct?
Let me pull that.
While you're looking, I'll feel compelled to talk. With what the submittal application, with what's before you, is it still an equal split, or was it adjusted to reflect that directive from NMED?
That was a request from the applicants. They wanted to do the split evenly and equally.
Okay,
Okay.
I will.
So the memo here from Glenda Wakey, the environmental, I met with John Timkovich, and he was able to provide SFC assessor updated bedroom counts for each of the houses on the parcel at 3.271 acres. The property has the following approved liquid waste system permits. So yes, if everything remains, the property size does not fall below 1.65 acres, they should be okay. It says it will be voided, the permits will be voided if it does fall below 1.65.
Thank you. Next question. You have an Exhibit H in the packet, a pre-code aerial of site, where it showed that structures 11 Trinity, 24A and B ceramic did not exist. And then the note, it said 1980 photograph. So was this an old photo? And I guess what I'm getting at is, when was 24A ceramic court, was that, was it a permitted structure? I thought I read a couple places in the packet, one in your staff report where it said it wasn't, and then another place, might have been something that came from the applicant that said that it was. But I'd be interested in whether it was permitted and when it was built. Now, the reason I'm asking is that, so looking at the record, when this was purchased in 1985, two structures already existed on the property, on the southern part of the property. I guess the mobile home and the blockhouse, they were there. The one on the permanent structure on the southern part of the property was permitted, and I'll ask the applicant later when that was. And 20, as far as the ceramic court, I'd just be interested when it's built, and it, just in my opinion, there may be a distinction between somebody that did something 20, 30 years before the code, this code, had ever been approved, and something that happened after the code was put in place. So it's the reason for the questions.
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the one dwelling that was permitted was on 11 Trinity, and the other 4 were not.
Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner La Cruz Crawford?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just trying to follow up on all everybody else's questions as well and stuff, and just kind of get the background. So, that aerial was a 1980 aerial, from what I saw,
That is correct, 1980.
and that was 12B Trinity, and that mobile home was present at that time.
Yes, it was a single-wide mobile home.
And the 12B though was not permitted,
No.
is what you mentioned, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And then when was 11 Trinity built? Since that was permitted, right?
Let's see.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, so just to clarify, the mobile home identified as 12B, so that is legal nonconforming. We did identify that as legal nonconforming, but that mobile home had since either been modified or removed and replaced, which takes it out of legal nonconforming status. So just a clarification on the mobile home.
Okay, okay.
Commissioner, I'm showing here on the Exhibit I that the building permit that they did have was dated September 27, 93,
93, okay. And that was for its second story addition though,
11 Trinity, yes.
for the 11 Trinity one. And then there's no permits for 24B and 24A ceramic, is that correct?
That is correct.
Do we have any, does staff have any idea of when those were built or when they showed up in aerials or anything like that?
Okay, so I have a second permit here, notice, a building permit number 860971 that was dated 3/27/90, and it was listed as 24A ceramic.
Okay, okay, so there was some sort of permit or something like that. And obviously, all these places have addresses, so my understanding is that County 911 addressing would have provided an address for these properties, correct? Can staff explain as far as like how that works, as far as addressing and permits? If there were no permits, do you still get an address, et cetera?
Mr. Chair, Planning Commission members, so when an applicant or a constituent comes into our GIS division and they ask for address verification, they're not going to look for permitting or legal nonconforming or anything. They will just provide address. If there's not an address for that particular structure, they will provide one and make sure that they create one for 911 addressing reasons.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense for safety reasons. And then my other questions, I guess, is, and maybe this is more of a question for the applicants, but they have been owners of this property this whole time? Is that kind of staff's understanding as well? The
That is
father?
correct.
Yeah, and maybe I'll ask that question when the applicants come up and stuff, you know, but, what was my other question here?
Let me sneak one in while you're
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
of
go
that.
ahead, yeah.
So I want to go back to something that Commissioner Bruger noticed. If the Environment Department has said that in order for this to work, it'll be required for each lot to be no less than 1.65 acres. If you double that, that's 3.3. There's no way to get a three, it isn't, and so maybe I'll ask. I just, yeah, so Commissioner Bruger, am I mistaken?
Mr. Chair, the southern part, the southern tract has 3 structures. That was the one with the 1.65 limitation.
Got it.
So it just couldn't be an equal split.
Right. However, the request is to split it equally, and so that's kind of a fatal flaw for that approach. Understood. Thank you so much. Did you recall your question?
Yeah, I somewhat did, yeah. So I guess what I was trying to get with some of my questions, just trying to figure out background of when these buildings were built, whether they were actually built by the applicants, or whether it was the applicant's grandfather, et cetera. You know, how these came to be about, since they were not permitted, and obviously they were built without following, you know, zoning codes, right? So that's kind of really the gist of my question there, just to kind of get some background from staff and from the applicants as far as, like, you know, what's the history here? How did it come about? You know, did they do something that they shouldn't have done, or, you know, et cetera, right? And then my other question, though, I guess, which is more of a question to staff, is I'm just curious, I mean, with respect to the fact that you have all these non-conforming structures, even as it exists right now, right? I mean, the applicants are trying to ask for a subdivision, but even as it exists right now, they can't have 5 houses on a 3-acre property, correct? And so my question to staff is, what ramifications, or what happens, I guess, if the board here denies this application with respect to, you know, the 5 houses that are there, et cetera, and the fact that it's already non-conforming, that they came into, you know, they came in and found out, hey, you know, you got to go to a variance to get it subdivided, plus you got all these non-conforming, non-permitted structures.
So, Mr. Chair, Commission Member Crawford, so the applicants, if it denied, the applicants would have the opportunity to appeal that decision to the Board of County Commissioners. And then if that decision is then denied at the Board of County Commissioners, they would then be able to appeal that decision to district court. Potentially, what would have to happen is, you know, there would have to be, I'm not necessarily sure if we would enforce, you know, demolition to come into compliance. I'm not entirely positive if that's the case on that. But there are multiple steps that need to be taken in order for this process to keep going. And Michael may be able to answer on what's you know, what could possibly happen to this property.
Yeah, Chair and Commissioner LaCruz Crawford, I think we'd have to sit down with the applicant and discuss what options are available. It's, you know, slightly more than 3 acres, so they're allowed to have 3 homes at 1 per acre that they could get, you know, after the fact permits for. The code does allow for an accessory dwelling unit. Obviously, we'd have to discuss with them how to work that out with the separate utilities. Maybe there's a way to modify it to combine the utilities, and then you're left with sort of a one structure, too many issue, and whether that's removing one of them, or there's also the possibility, and I don't know the legwork with the environment department and whatnot that it would take. You could also try to, get really creative with your lot lines, and again, an unequal split, creating 3 lots that are each an acre. So you have 3 homes on 1 acre that meet the minimum, and then I have no idea if they could then make the remaining 2 share utilities and meet the size requirements of an accessory dwelling unit. I mean, that's a wild idea, but we have to get creative and have those discussions outside of this public forum.
Yeah, and that's what I was curious about, because obviously if somebody would be coming in and trying to do this per code, there's, all these things come into play with respect to shared utilities, et cetera. And that does bring another question real quick, and then I'll step back and see if anybody has other questions or comments. But there are 4 septic systems in here right now, correct?
is correct.
And with the 5 houses, which one is sharing the, that other septic system, I guess? Yeah. Do we know?
Okay, that's probably I'm sorry, that's probably a good question for the applicants.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then any other utilities, do we know as far as, do all these houses have their own, are they all individually electrically metered? Do they all have?
the applicant.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, but those are questions that staff might not be aware of. So, but we will have an opportunity to speak with the applicant. Are there any other questions of staff? Commissioner Pava, then Commissioner Bruger.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed on the aerial that the mobile home that's on the south end of the property in the center of the proposed southern lot appears to be very close to the lot lines. Does it and any of the other properties all comply with setback variances or setback requirements? I notice that they're not applying for any, so I presume staff determined that none were required.
Mr. Chair, Commission Member Pava. So all structures do meet the setback requirements. Keep in mind that with the aerials, the lot lines don't match up with the parcels exactly. They're a little bit off. So that's why there's a little bit of a deviation there. But all structures do meet the setbacks.
Thank you. That's instructive. The other question is a follow-up to Commissioner Trujillo's inquiry about ways to make this happen. If one of the structures, say that small mobile home, manufactured house, whatever it is on the south side, were to go away, is it possible that in the remaining 2 lots, you could have a structure and an accessory dwelling unit? I know you responded to that partially, but I'm following up on that.
So one of the structures would have to qualify for an accessory dwelling unit, which means it would have to be a minimum or a maximum of 1,400 square feet, but that would have to be 50% of the primary residence. So if the primary residence is not 2,800 square feet heated, it would have to be enlarged. That way it would be able to meet those qualifications. So whatever the smaller units are, if they were under 1,400, there's a possibility that the other structures could be expanded to make them 50% of the primary. So that could be a case as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bruger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It wasn't a question for staff, but just a follow up on the point that Commissioner LaCruz Crawford had made. I'm not an attorney like Mr. Persino, but I think one of your questions was what happens if this is denied and it stays denied. I think one impact would be that if the owner, either owner, to the north or south, wanted to pass it on to their heirs, it would be difficult to pass it on through a conventional deed. You maybe just quitclaim deed. Here's our interest, whatever it is, and that's it. But if they wanted to pass it on, I think it would be difficult to do that. And if they wanted to sell it, I think it'd be difficult in this situation to sell it as well. Again, I would defer to any expertise the attorney would have, but that'd be my opinion.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff from members of the commission? Thank you very much, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you.
So now the applicant or agent, if you want to come up and make a presentation, that would be great.
I do. John M. Timkowicz, 45 Coyote Springs, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Please move the mic.
Thank you, Chair, Mr. Chair, and Commissioners. I appreciate this opportunity to explain the situation that we have. I think you see the logistics that are involved with this very, very much. My wife and her brother, years ago, when they were both still single, purchased this property as an investment. And they held on to the property. Existing on the property were the casita, the small building on the south side, and the mobile home. And they held on to this property as an investment. And then when my wife and I got married, we obtained a permit in 1992 to build a house on there, and it was approved by the county and state for that. As Marie stated, it was the only one completely permitted. My brother-in-law, Robert, between my wife and him, they decided he would have the north half and we would have the south half. And he went forward with getting a permit, and we do have a copy of the permit from the state. Oop, sorry, excuse me. But he didn't go to the county. Apparently, it just didn't get put through the county. So it was partially done. So we have two structures there that were permitted, one not completely, and then two that were existing when they purchased the property. So we were under the impression that we were okay as far as the permitting was concerned with what was there. We put in septic systems. We went through that process, got that all accomplished. And then my brother-in-law decided he wanted to add a structure. Well, unfortunately, he did that without being permitted. We realized that this is inconsistent with all of the right requirements for permitting and zoning and so forth. But what we wanted to do, we brought this upon ourselves. We're admitting that. We have no problem with accepting the responsibility. And that's what we're trying to do. When we came into the county to request a lot split, a legal lot split, we wanted to do the right thing and get this done in a proper way so that we can pass this down to our two sons, and Debbie can pass her property to her son, because we're not going to be here very long, frankly. and the ability for us to manage this property until we do pass it down is all we want to do. We realize we can't split it anymore. We can't build anymore on it, and we don't want to. We really just want to make this a legal property split in compliance with the county and with the state. And we've made an effort over this last, well, it's almost 9 months now, to get all of this in compliance. We've gone through the septic system process with the state. I just completed that with the state, getting it into compliance. Therefore, that recommendation for the lot split. And as far as the lot split is concerned, that was her requirement for us to be in compliance with the size of the structures and the septic systems. So, and we're very happy to go ahead and adjust the property size in order to get the split, and that's not a problem for us. So right now we've gone through all of the steps to be compliant, to be in compliance, and we're simply asking for a little understanding and ability for us to go forward.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have questions of the applicant?
I guess I had those previous questions that I had mentioned, just to kind of get some background for you guys as far as
Sure.
like when these houses were built, if you have like a timeline for each one of them.
So
And then
when
the-
they bought the property, the two structures, the one structure and the mobile home were already existing. We did sell that mobile home and replace it with another mobile home, which we admit, we didn't get a permit to do it, but we thought since there was already a mobile home there, it was permitted for a mobile home. Our misunderstanding, our fault. We went forward and got the permit for 11 Trinity in 1992, 93, I believe it was. And then a couple of years later, not even that or earlier, my brother-in-law, Robert, who has since passed away, he got the permit through the state for his property, 24A. And that's how we came about with at least 4 of the structures, believing that they were in compliance with permitting. The 2 were existing, so we thought there was no issue there. 24B, yeah, that's just out of compliance completely. But we're more than.
Ma'am, please hold on, and if you do want to say something, you need to be sworn, so
Yeah.
just, or,
Yeah. So I don't know what she wants to say, but at any rate,
could I just interject? So 24B, you said that was not permitted. About when was that built?
I believe somewhere around 1998, 97.
97?
1997,
Okay.
yes. So that's the timeline for all those structures.
Thank you.
Then I think the only other the other questions that I had that were more for you is just out of those 4 septic systems, which one is sharing the one septic, and then also what is
sorry,
you?
I can't hear you.
Sorry, out of the, because there's 5 houses and 4 septic systems, so I
Yes.
was just kind of curious which 2 places are sharing the one.
So
of them,
the
right?
the casita and the mobile home share one septic system. The others have their own.
So that's 12A and 12B, is that right?
12A and 12B.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then as far as, I also had a question as far as other utilities, I'm just kind of curious about that, like,
All the utilities are separate.
so all the electric, gas,
Yeah.
everything's got everything by itself, okay.
Commissioner,
I have a follow-up to the septic, because I'm still trying to figure this out. So you said you worked with NMED.
Yes.
Is this after that they told you that the current systems they don't have enough capacity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the corrective actions that they required. They did an after the fact permit.
Oh, okay.
Or I should say, an unpermitted inspection of the septic system, found it to be compliant. We just got that approved from the NMED, and that's part of the packet.
Okay, great, thank you.
any other questions? Commissioner Bruger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, one question, this would be a question of both owners. So what's your reason for requesting the lot split? What do you intend to do with the property if this were approved?
Well, we're going to hold on to the property and pass that on to our sons, and that's it. But we wanted to have her family to have separate property and our family to have separate property.
Okay. I'll save the next question for that. We never met. Debbie? Debbie. Okay, if I'll save it for.
So any more questions of Mr. Timkwich? Commissioner Trujillo?
Mr. Chairman, so the 24A is a home built on a foundation, is that correct?
It's built, yeah, it's a slab and
Okay. And 24B is built on a foundation?
24B is built on a slab.
Okay, and 11, is that a home built on a slab as well?
No, it's built on a foundation.
Well, okay, on a foundation. So is 12A and 12B, are those both mobile homes? Or are they,
No, the 12A is a casita, is built on a slab,
okay,
and the mobile home is set, it's not set on permanent foundation.
so 12B is the only mobile home on the property?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Trujillo, would you care to be sworn?
Raise your hand.
Yes, Deborah Trujillo, 24 Ceramic Court, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I just want to let you know.
Please use the mic.
reason-
Yeah,
The
it's
reason
adjusted.
that the 24B is not permitted because a 20-year-old son committed suicide. And my husband needed something to do so he would not go out and drink or do anything silly. Him and his son were like this. And that's the only reason why he started building that home, or we would not have had it built at all. But he needed something to do with his grieving so that he wouldn't go and do something bad that I did. I started drinking. And he chose to find something else to deal with his grief. And that's the only reason why he built that 24B. I don't even believe he even thought about a permit or anything. He just started digging in the ground. And it went from there, unfortunately. And I apologize for that on his behalf. But
No, So
There's
so
nothing I
sorry
can
for
do.
your multiple losses, ma'am.
thank you. And, there's nothing I could do, but whatever the state asks of me to take care of it, I'll do whatever I have to do. Because like I said, we both want for our sons to inherit the properties and not have to deal, through this on their own, do you know what I mean?
Thank you. And Commissioner Bruger, I believe, had a question for you. And if you could speak in the mic, you can
Okay.
adjust it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Trujillo, same question I had for Mr. Timkovich. If this were approved, what do you intend to do with the property? What's the purpose for you requesting this lot?
So I
split?
can leave it to my son, my only son that I have. So he can keep that property because his father built everything on it with his own hands and wanted to stay with him and his family, hopefully.
One more question. Did, when 24A ceramic was built, did y'all live there before, or was it built for rental, or was it, what?
Which one?
24A ceramic, did you live there before, or was it just built for?
No, we started building it so we could move there. We lived here in the city, and we started building down there to move out there to the other side of town.
Okay. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I have a question for both of you, and it's just kind of a mechanical question. So when you get your tax bill, do you have to sit down together and figure out how do you work that? Because
That's what we've been doing.
that's,
That's what we've been doing for 30 years.
got it. Okay. Thanks. Commissioner Trujillo.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm just assuming that the lot split that you were trying to have granted, I don't have a north arrow on this, but 24A and 24B would be one lot, and then the line would be kind of where I see a fence line. The three structures would be the other lot. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so, Mr. Chairman, as I look at this, I look at 24A and 24B now, I mean, it's not a very precise measurement, but 24A by roof area certainly looks maybe as much as 50% larger than 24B B, which would be defined as an accessory structure. 11 and 12A, 11 looks about twice the size of 12A that's permanently built, that would be defined as an accessory structure. It seems like 12B is the one that's here that's creating the issue. If not, this would be basically a legal lot split. I think it would be pretty close to being a legal lot split, in my opinion. And so I'm just making an observation here.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Trio, so according to the assessor's records, on 24A is approximately 2,300 square feet heated, and 24B is 1,000. So by square footage wise, it would qualify as an accessory dwelling unit. Again, the other qualifying factor for an accessory dwelling unit is it has to share the utilities with the primary residence, and these do not. 24A and 24B do not share the same septic. Those two have their own septic. So that's another disqualifying factor for it being qualified as an accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, but Mr. Chairman and Dominic, the people have come, we've granted variances over issues like this before. I know this body has, I've sat there where we've granted issues where they weren't sharing the same utility, and also even variances on accessory dwellings that were really close to the size. So I just want to throw that out, that has been granted in the past. And so I get it that you know, it's much easier doing this after the code, that you're forced to share the utilities. When something's built in the 90s, it's not really a thought back then to do it. So nobody would have known to do it back then. And so here we are today, and nobody would know. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner La Cruz Crawford.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that. I think Commissioner Trujillo made a good point here and stuff. Sorry, I'll get closer to the mic. But yeah, I think you made a good point there too and stuff, and that's something that I'm curious about too, because I was thinking the same thing. You know, if I guess, and this is more a question for staff, is I know this is coming at us as a subdivision request and as a density request, but as Mr. Trio mentioned and stuff, at least with respect to the 24, the ceramic side of things, right? We've got a smaller unit that could, you know, classify as an accessory dwelling unit, other than the fact that you have the two septic systems and the utilities that's separate. But, you know, and previously the board has approved, at least with the septic stuff. Is that a different type of variance request though than what's being requested, if it was to like classify as that?
In the past, some of these requests have come in as variance of the ADU standards instead of a variance of density. Those have come in the past, but it's been kind of staff's opinion that it would be a little more restrictive, for a density variance. And that was previous administration's decision as to run these through as density variances.
So generally, the density variance is a better way to go. So like, for instance, that top side, if the board was to agree, it's better to do it as a density scenario and allow two dwellings in that 1.63 scenario than to do a variance on an ADU.
That is correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Bruger.
Mr. Chair, question, Mr. Timkovich, did I understand you correct that 24A ceramic did have a permit approved by CID?
Yes, it did. I have a copy of it here if you'd like to see it.
I believe you. If this were approved, what would be, there was a condition for after the permit, after the fact permit, that, say, I read somewhere you were a compliance officer, so you know all about this.
Yes.
What would be your plan to go get that for 24B ceramic from CID? How do you go about doing that?
Well, whatever requirements that the county would have for us to get a permit, we would follow that process. We're more than happy to jump through the hoops that we need to be compliant with state and county regulations. So we would work closely with the county staff, keep them apprised of our progress on getting an after-the-fact permit with the state, whether that required an independent building inspection to ensure compliance, a review of whatever plans that Robert had at the time, and go forward with a permit through the state, and then put it through the county for approval, and go from there, and pay whatever penalties we need to pay. That's all there is to it.
Thank you. Just one more question.
Please.
This would be of staff. I don't know how much institutional memory there is there now, but before the SLDC was approved, what regulations governing density were in place in this area, if anybody knows?
Prior to the 2016 SLDC, there were still variance requests for density request or any type of, property that went over density. So that was still a process back then.
Wait, do you know what the density limits were back then? That they built this back in the 90s then?
For this particular property, I do not.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bruger, I just, on the point about the after-the-fact permits, I do just want to, mention that with Santa Fe County, we will issue a development permit and zoning approval for after-the-fact permits. In conversations with the state, it's going to be a little bit different. The state is not as willing to issue after-the-fact permits because they do not want to do any type of invasive inspections. So typically what they're saying and what they're going to require for a permit with the state is they're going to require either an architect stamp or an engineer stamp on a full, set of plans for the structures that are unpermitted.
And what permit is that from the state?
That would be the actual building permit.
It's an after-the-fact construction permit.
Correct.
Commissioners, any other questions of applicants or staff? Commissioner LaCruz Crawford.
I'm just curious with the fact that we've got two houses right now, the request is a subdivision split. On the north, we'd have two houses, on the south, we'd have three. Are we dealing with two different density requests in that condition, or what's happening there?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, so the density request is for the entire property as it is right now. And so, again, you wouldn't be approving the subdivision, you would be approving the density to allow the properties, if it were to be subdivided, to have the two primary residents on the northern lot and then the three dwellings on the southern lot. So there's not an exact, density number, of how many dwellings per acre. It would kind of just be a general approval to allow these houses as they are situated right now in order to be divided.
So that's partially confusing to me, and then I'll let you add. But so are we doing both here, approving both the density and the subdivision, or do we need to approve the density first? Or
Chair and Commissioner, today you were only considering the variance to density, essentially 2 units above the 3 to allow for 5, which brings the current property into compliance. That variance would run with the land, and then the subdivision request is would be an administrative process after the variance approval if it gets approved.
Interesting. Okay.
I have a question for staff. In my review of the TAC report, it said that if this is not approved or acted on in 8 months, it will need to be resubmitted to TAC. The 8 months ran out yesterday. And I'm wondering, is that an issue, or is that just me reading too much?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, so the 8-month expiration is from when they first come to TAC and when they make the application. They've made the application, which is why they're
Perfect.
here
Okay.
for the variance.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions for
Yeah.
Commissioner Trujillo?
So this is a question for staff. So back with, if we did pass this variance here and it got subdivided in the upper half, 24A and B, ceramic court, that would already be a legal lot of record just by us passing it. It wouldn't even be a variance increase because you'd have a main home and you'd have an accessory dwelling. And so my question would be, is if currently somebody sits on an acre and a half in this area, has a home that was built in the 1990s and another home that was built in the 1990s, and one was half the size, and they got utilities done separately back then, and they come into the county to add a garage on, then would they be out of non-compliance because they don't meet the accessory dwelling standard? And you wouldn't grant that permit, and they would have to come in for a variance.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Member Trio, so if these were, unpermitted structures and they came in for permits, yes, we would have to go through current SLDC standards. We wouldn't go and look back at what the standards were back before 2016. We would look at what's current code.
So if I hear you correctly, then somebody that, so even if both these structures were fully permitted in the 90s, and one was half the size and one was the full size, and now the land development code comes in 2017, and one wants to add a garage, and they come into the county because they have separate utilities, how are they going to be not, would they have to come for a variance at that point because a permit wouldn't be issued?
Yeah, Chair and Commissioner Trio, I guess it's hard to solidly answer that because in this instance, the structures were not permitted, and it's hard to speculate if they could have been permitted under the 1990s code.
No,
If the old code did allow the density, which staff here cannot tell you, I can't tell you today that they would have or could have, but if they were legally permitted and we adopted a new code and they were legally non-conforming, they would not have to get a variance to add a garage because it's not changing the density that exists on the property. The issue with this case today is that there were things that were not permitted. We can't say if they would have been allowed by the zoning when they were built. They don't meet the zoning today, and they need to get permits in order to come into compliance and move forward.
Okay, Mr. Chair, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Michael Voss.
Michael. So under the scenario I gave, because this is going to help me with my decision here, is moving, if I own this top piece of property and I permitted both these homes in 1993, I permitted both of these homes, but they don't share, they have separate septic tanks and they have their own electrical service, and I go in for one of these just to add a garage onto it, it's non-conforming in the SLDC code based on that you have a main home and an accessory structure based on the density currently under the code, and therefore would the county issue me this permit?
Yes. So
And
the property.
Why would that be any different now? Why would it be an issue now when they put electricity and sewer back in the 90s on both of these houses then?
So if you had if you had a lot and you had two permitted dwellings, and that was before code, they're legal non-conforming. Then you want to come in and add a garage. A garage is not a dwelling, so you're not exceeding any type of density there at that point. In this case, none of these structures were not permitted with Santa Fe County, and so now to come forward and to try and permit these structures for current code, we have to go by current code, and these structures don't meet current code as far as sharing of the utilities. They may meet the current code and the requirements for size as the 50%, but they're still not sharing utilities. They're still have their each own septic, their own power, it sounds like, as well. So they're looked at as their own primary dwellings or own secondary primary dwelling and perhaps a secondary dwelling.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners of applicant or staff? Commissioner Bruger.
Usually it just rolls off the tongue. But no. if it were deemed an advantage in this case for getting an approval, would you, for your, for all of your legal non-conforming, for the 24B ceramic and for the manufactured home, the one that you updated, changed, would you be open to getting approval from CID for those structures? So what was not permitted would become permitted?
Yes, whatever we need to do to get anything permitted, we would follow that requirement.
Just the last comment with that, this is quite a variance request, and I'm not prone to deviating from the code that much, but you're not going to do anything more to the property. Your whole purpose is to clean up the title. If we can achieve this and still get structures that were unpermitted, permitted, and still be in compliance with NMED, I think that's a good thing. That's my comment.
Any other questions of commissioners?
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner LaCruz Crawford.
I don't know whether staff answered this before, but as far as the density for this lot and as far as any surrounding lots in this area, what are we dealing with here and stuff? Is there some precedence for this or not?
Just at a quick glance, I mean, there are some similar sized lots as the the 3 acre lot that's currently there, but there are some smaller lots as well. But it's hard to say without doing some research if those were pre-code or if those were small lot family transfers that were allowed prior to the 2016 code.
Okay. And then, because I do notice in this, I think this whole area is adjacent to a mixed-use area, right? I'm just looking at other zoning around the area and stuff. I believe to the north of that, you've got residential estate, which is 1 per 2 acres. This one is 1 per 1, correct? And then you've got mixed use to the right of that. I'm just trying to think about that stuff too. And then my other question for staff is just really as far as like, you know, obviously as a board member here, there is the complying with this idea of hardship, right? So what is, I've read the brief on that, but I'd like to hear it directly from staff as far as like, is there any hardship here, with, that as far as code-wise is concerned, as far as we should be aware of or not?
Chair and commissioners, I mean, I think staff and the SLDC hearing officer's recommendations were for denial based on the criteria. You can certainly review that criteria and look at the hardship. Is it a hardship to potentially force them to remove a structure or not? Is it, and there's also the aspect of practical difficulties. Their argument about being able to properly transfer title to the portions of the property in the future could be something to consider. So I think that's, and then I think the other part of the criteria is the idea of substantial justice, trying to balance between strict code compliance while allowing the needed flexibility, but not so much flexibility that you're undermining the code for the future.
That's a good point. And that really kind of came back to that first question that I first had, as far as like what ramifications or hardships would there be of a denial of this request, right? Because I was curious about that from the beginning. It's like, what happens if you deny this, right? Because I think right now the idea is to get the density request so that at least all these 5 structures that you guys are trying to do the right thing and get it all, up and up, you know? I guess my only other comments, more so to you guys as property owners and stuff like this, is that, you know, I look at these sometimes, you know, I look at these often as far as like, hey, is this something that was, you know, is this an issue that was given to you by the purchase of the property, or is it an issue that you caused yourself? In this situation, I do think this is an issue that you caused yourself, because obviously you clearly built a lot of homes without permitting, et cetera, and stuff. You did not follow zoning codes, probably not even the ones that were in effect during the time that you were building, you know? And so it's always kind of hard when somebody comes in and it's more of like asking for forgiveness instead of permission, you know, because then it's like, what do we do as board members? Do we do that constantly or what, you know? I mean, I do understand the need for variances, absolutely, you know, I mean, I'm an architect, and this is why we have the board, and this is why we have variances, right? Is to allow flexibility, as you know, as we were saying, with respect to what somebody can do with their lot, you know? It's just harder when you're coming in after the fact, and it's like, you know, more of a slap on your hand, and you're gonna get, you know? So it's you know, it's just something to consider, because the other part or general comment that I had is like, you know, it's like, is it our responsibility as a board to help you guys out with what you can do legally amongst yourselves, right? Because I mean, obviously, I get it. You guys are trying to subdivide this in such a way that it's, you know, it can be easily handed down to your family. Totally understandable. You know, what you guys are doing is totally fine. You know, it makes sense, right? But also just curious if that's something you guys can handle within your lawyers, as opposed to, you know, us, you know, helping you to subdivide the property, et cetera. But those are just general comments, and yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Hearing no further questions of applicant or staff, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody either here or online who is? Yeah, we're all set. We're all set. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else either in the room interested in speaking on this issue or online?
Chair, there's nobody online indicating that they wish to speak on this matter.
Okay, and nobody's leaping up to speak on the issue from the room, so the public hearing portion is closed. Commissioners, what's the will of the commission?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion to pass the variance, case number 25-5260, with the staff's recommendation. Sounds like these folks are willing to try and work on all these recommendations to meet the needs and bring title into clear.
So we have a motion, and I'm imagining there will be an amendment to that motion. So before we second it, is that the right time to do it? Commissioner Bruger?
Mr. Chair, at what point could I offer a friendly amendment to that motion?
Oh, it needs a second. So we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second? So we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
May I offer a friendly amendment to that
Yes.
motion? That the southern, in the formal lot split, I presume there's a formal lot split plat that would be created, that the southern tract would be at least 1.65 acres to be in compliance with the NMED requirement, and that there be a note on the plat that both that unpermitted structures shall be properly permitted through CID.
So, Commissioner, is that?
That's a friendly amendment if that's something that can be noted on a plat. I'm not sure, but if it can't, but I mean, it can be that the process is added to the recommendations that they go to the state of New Mexico to approve permit, whatever direction they get from them. But I don't know if that could actually be noted on a plat.
So perhaps let's ask the attorney if, in a moment, So understand, just to make sure that the first part of your request, is that considered friendly, Commissioner? Yes, so that when the parcel is surveyed to define the two lots, the southern lot is at least 1.65 acres in order to conform with the requirements of the Environment Department's Liquid Waste Division, or whatever they're called. And Roger, do you have thoughts on whether a note on the plat that all existing structures shall be property permitted or shall be brought to the property?
Chair and Commissioners,
Sure.
Michael Voss, the Land Use Administrator. I would recommend not placing that as a plat note, but just as a standalone condition on the variance approval that you require that the applicant to obtain the after-the-fact construction permits from CID, and then staff will enforce that condition as they move forward.
And is that not one of the existing conditions?
Chair and Commissioners, there's an existing commission for after-the-fact permitting from the county.
Oh,
But we can clarify that they need both county and state approval.
got it. So Commissioner, are you, where was that?
Mr. Chair, John Lovato, Building Development Supervisor. I just had
John, we can't hear you. Hold on, let's see if we can get you turned up a little bit.
Voice from the sky. John, are you there?
Yes, I am.
We,
Can you
Hold on, John. We're going to
just a
try and get
second, we
you
have to mic you up.
turned up.
John Lovato,
Oh, is he calling in or what?
is he on Zoom? John, can you increase the volume of your mic, see if that's possible? We can barely hear you. Test, test?
Can you hear me?
Not really.
Let me. Now?
It's a little bit better. Why don't you shout into your mic? And please
Sure, I just
identify
wanted
yourself
to-
again, John.
John Lovato, Building and Development Supervisor. I just wanted to put out there that when you put the condition of it getting approved by CID, CID often requires them to hire an architect or an engineer to structurally check the components of that structure. So that might be a hiccup on their end. Thus, that's why we put after the fact permits for Santa Fe County.
Understood. And I believe that the applicants have indicated that they are willing to go to the expense of hiring, design professionals to submit. It's really like what's in the walls, what's in the foundation, to do that analysis and submit that. So I think the applicant has indicated that they would do that when they gave their testimony. So thank you very much for that input, John. And I think we understand that. So we have a motion to approve with conditions, modifying so that the southern lot is at least 1.65 acres when it's permitted, and to add an additional condition that the applicant go through the CID process for after-the-fact permitting. We have a motion and a second for that. May I get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Roger. I think staff was also expressing discomfort, and I would second that with respect to the condition regarding the size of a second parcel. A lot split at this point hasn't even been applied for, and to try to look into the future and dictate how that, how that would have to happen if it were to be applied for, is potentially an overreaching, I guess.
So what you're saying is, while we can recommend to the applicant in order to smooth the road with the Environment Department, when they do the surveying and apply for the actual acreage of each lot. That's not a condition we should put. Instead, it's a recommendation. Commissioner Bruger?
Then noting that, I would like to amend the friendly amendment to include as a condition of approval that the applicant comply with the NMED requirements, all NMED requirements.
Okay, so we have a changed friendly amendment that would be, instead of specifying lot size, we are requiring.
Well, the only thing, Mr. Chair, I think condition 6 already states that NMD will be, the applicant will also need to address the concerns of NMED and all four. So I think that's already addressed in the condition.
I believe so too, I would agree.
Okay, so would you like to withdraw your amendment, Commissioner Bruger?
Sure.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval with all conditions that have been listed by staff. May I get a roll call vote, please?
I approve. I approve, yeah, yes.
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 Yes. Thank you all. Good luck. Okay, the next item is case number 25-5200, Nancy Martinez Craft variance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is David Ruiz. I'm a senior plan review development. Yes. Mr. Chair, Commission members, case 25-5200, Nancy Martinez Craft variance. Nancy Martinez Craft, applicant, Benny Martinez agent, request a variance of chapter 717.9.2.1 standards and a variance of chapter 7.17.9.2.2 to allow a residence to be constructed on a ridge top. The property is within the residential fringe zoning district within the Chimayo Community Overlay District and located at 54 El Potrero Road within Section 1, Township 20 North, Range 9 East. Commission District 1, SDA 2, parcel number 188003105. The applicant requests a variance to construct a single-story family residence on the ridge top on a 12-acre legally platted lot located at 54 El Potrero Road in Chimayo. Previously, the applicant, as requested by Hemes Electric Co-op, graded and a power pole on the top of the ridge top for power to the site and graded the entire top of the lot without permit. The applicant was issued a notice of violation and applicant applied for a permit to stabilize the disturbance. The applicant has addressed the variance criteria as contained in the memo. On January 8th, 2026, the hearing officer met and acted on this case. The hearing officer recommends denial of the requested variance. The hearing officer stated, based on consideration of the evidence in this case, approval of the requested variance would not be consistent with the spirit of the SLDC. Rather, denial of the request variance is consistent with both the spirit of the SLDC and with substantial justice. The general prohibition on ridge-top construction absent a variance or a lack of other buildable location on the relevant property exists to promote safety and avoid potential negative impacts of structures built on the ridge tops. The effectiveness of the SLDC is predicated in the standards contained therein being applied and even-handedly throughout the relevant communities. A variance from the standards, unless justified by truly unique and exceptional circumstances, undermines the purpose of the SLDC and would be unfair to other members of the community who are subject to generally applicable standards. Accordingly, the applicant, if the third review criteria supports denial of the request variance in this case. Building and Development Services staff have determined that the applicant's request to allow a residence to be constructed on a ridge top is not in compliance with the SLDC, and it is not in line with the criteria necessary for granting a variance. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the applicant's request. If the Planning Commission decision is to approve the applicant's request, staff recommends the imposition of the following conditions. To be clear, staff's identification of the condition is not intended as an indication that staff approves or would approve the granting of the request variance. Staff's position is that this application does not comply with the SLDC and does not satisfy the variance criteria of section 4.9.7.4, and that no conditions, regardless of how carefully crafted and can change that noncompliance. These conditions are presented simply to inform the hearing officer of recommendation conditions. If evidence presented convinces you that approval of the variances is in fact warranted. Mr. Chair, may I enter these conditions into the record?
Yes, David, you may.
Thank you. I stand for questions.
Commissioners, does anyone have questions of staff? Commissioner?
On the aerials of the building sites, I think it's maybe Exhibit E. Are those, not burial sites, did I say burial sites?
Aerial.
Okay.
Aerial.
Building site. Were those building sites denoted by the staff, or was this something from the applicant?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner members, yes, I did a site visit to the site, and I consider those a more suitable area for residents.
So they graded the top of the ridge as a potential building site, and the county's saying, but you have all these other potential building sites that didn't require the amount of grading that occurred. Okay.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner members, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff from the commission?
Yeah, Mr.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, David. So back, these sites that were identified on this Exhibit E, this, if I heard correctly, was these things that are circled here are what the county thought would be different sites?
Yeah, that's what
Mr. Chair, Commissioner members, yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I look at the aerial map, or actually it's one that gives the topography of it, and I look at Build Site 2. This is the one that shows it where basically is the drainage area. I mean, it's literally, if I look at the topography map that comes in Exhibit, I don't know which one it was, but I mean, when you, it's in users, let's see, I don't know what this one was. Oh, the site plan. In the site plan, it shows the whole lot, and it shows the topography of it, and it shows the different slopes. And so, other than the place that's being leveled, the other one of the other places that's recommended is basically, to me, looks like the drainage off of all of the 30%, which would be a very challenging building site to build on, personally. And the other two sites, to help me understand this a little bit quicker, this is, the code states that you just can't build on a ridge top if there's other places that can be built?
25 foot.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, that's correct. If there's better or more suitable site development areas.
So, Mr. Chairman, and I mean, this is just a question for my own, I'm just thinking out loud here is, suitable, know, because I design and I build as well, and so sometimes suitable can be defined in many different ways. I mean, suitable, if you're up against a mountain, you're not getting any southern sun, and your house is gonna be cold, to me, is not suitable. If you're in a drainage area, and even though, you know, the land is flatter, but everything is rolling from a hill down to you, you got other challenges, and it's not that suitable as well. And so I'm just trying to understand how suitable is determined in the code.
Mr. Chair, Commission Member Trujillo, so staff did do a site visit, and our terrain manager, John Lovato, did go out there. He said that drainage is minimal out there, and any drainage off that ridge could be taken care of by proper grading and drainage plan by a licensed engineer.
Thank you,
Chair-
Mr. Chair.
Chair and Commissioners, to answer the question about what does suitable mean, 7.17.1 is the purpose statements for the terrain management regulations, which is to protect water quality and the natural character of land, minimize slope instability, erosion, protecting steep terrain, minimizing the soil disturbance, and things of that nature. So there are purpose statements that guide what would be considered the most suitable per these rules.
And I had a follow-up on that. So one of the pictures shows sort of a flat graded area with a vehicle on it. Was that the typical, was that there, or was that caused by grading of the property? Was that a flat area before, or did the applicant grade that?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, we believe it was generated when the grading happened
Okay.
for the top.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions of staff from commission?
Yeah, I guess that was kind of my question too, is like, I'm not sure with these photographs that
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
seeing,
just cut and nail.
where is the area that was actually graded by the applicants?
Mr. Chair, Commission members. Excuse me, let me get my aerial picture.
Commissioner, I think if you look at Exhibit E,
Uh-huh.
at that aerial, you can see a big, flat, blank place. That's my guess as to what was graded.
On the south part near this indication of build site 1?
That's correct.
Just north of the red circle.
Side 1, yes.
Site 1, so this
Yes,
is where
just north of side
they graded that all out and planned it out on their own without a prior permit. But then in their proposed site plan on exhibit, what's the one with the site analysis, can be a little confusing because the ILR, I guess, is what it is. It's not really a site or like a survey or anything like that, but it's flipped over, right? So this is, let me see here real quick. I'm just trying to make sure I gather where it's at and make sure I'm correct here. But their proposed location, though, would be right up against that against that big ridge, right? Is that correct? Is that what
Mr.
they're?
Chair, Commission officers. The residence is proposed to be right on top of the graded area. It's that bare area that Mr. Abo was mentioning is literally right on top of that mesa that they created.
It's not what it, so that's where I'm kind of curious, where, you know, because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, you know, their layout of their site plan appears to have their house being built on what would be, I guess, what the south side, which would be.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, if you look at Exhibit D, the site photos, those actually show a little bit more of the ridge that was cut off. In particular, picture 17 of 45, that shows you the lower southern part of that lot that staff deems as the most buildable area, but maybe not the most desirable. But you can see where it was graded with the driveway going up to the top of the ridge, and you can see where the ridge is cut off. And again, that's picture number 17 out of 45, and it shows the power pole that's down below as well.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'm kind of seeing that now. Okay, so just kind of south of that big ridge is where they're proposing to have their residence, which is kind of near where the build site one that county had recommended, is that?
No, so they're proposing, they want the variance to build on top of that ridge top that they graded without a permit. So that's what their variance request is. They don't want to build on the buildable areas that staff identified. They want to build on the non-buildable area of the ridge top that they've already graded and cut.
Okay. And then I guess my other question is, was there a plat? Because all this stuff that I'm seeing here it's just an ILR with, because it does not look like, I guess I'm just curious, because a lot of times, you get an engineer and they classify the buildable area, correct? In their maps, but nothing was done. Staff is the one that looked at the buildable areas, not a surveyor.
Staff deemed the more suitable areas for the land.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around what's happening. So they cut that ridge, but then they're looking to build it on top of the ridge and do some additional grading up on that top of that ridge and build there. Did I not see that? Okay, here. I'm gonna step back and look around.
Yeah, makes a lot more sense now with the photos.
Any other questions of Commissioner Bruger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, section 7.17.9.2, subsection 2 of the code states that no structure may be constructed on a ridgetop, ridgeline, or shoulder unless there is no other buildable area on the property. I accept the staff determination that there are other buildable areas on the property. That's one comment. Another comment. I found it interesting that there was a note from staff, maybe that was John that did it, dated 6/18/2022, said that they met with Mr. Martinez, where he stated that they don't want to connect to the power, they just want the power pole on the property. This might be a follow-up question of the applicant. That was the note that was stated. John's not here, but do you shed any light? Am I reading that accurately?
Mr. Chair,
It was just a note in the packet.
I believe John's talking.
Mr. Chair, commission members,
Please speak up, John, yeah.
yeah, when this initially came in, it was a violation reported by surrounding neighbors. We attended the site. We issued a violation for him putting for the applicant putting the power pole on top of the actual ridge line. We then asked him to move it to a lower location and asked why it was warranted. And he stated that the letter stated that Hemis wanted the power pole up there. And we could not figure out why they would want that power pole up there. The applicant agreed to move it to a lower location on that ridge line so that they can build on the lower portion where the vehicle is parked in Exhibit D, photo number 2. And we were okay with that in allowing him to build there. Later on, we identified other buildable areas that were on a lower location, and therefore that is why we recommended the lower locations to be built on. A little history on this is when the Potrero water tank came in, the county had that excess of fill from cutting to put the actual system in, the tank. Miss Nancy Martinez wanted the fill so that way she could put a home on that location, pictured item D, where the picture of the vehicle is. That's the intention, that was their initial intention. They changed it, they graded the top, and therefore that is why they're requesting the variance at this point.
Mr. Chair and Commission members, I also want to let you know that in the staff report, in the beginning, it did identify 2 variance requests. But the applicant states that they can actually meet the 25-foot setback from the shoulder. So it is only one variance request to build on top of the ridgetop.
Thank you. Commissioner Bruger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, so a notice of violation was issued on November 2021, and then a letter was provided May 11th, 2022, that stated that additional submittals were needed from the applicant, or else the case would be brought to court. My question is, what's happened over these last 3 years? We're 3 years later, here we are with this variance request. What happened, or what didn't happen?
Mr. Chair, Commission Member Bruger, the applicant actually applied for a permit and was granted a permit to stabilize the cut that he did. So he is in line right now, although none of the vegetation has taken place. Nothing's withheld because of the unstabilization of that soil, because of the type of material and soils that it is. It's not getting any vegetation. That was a huge concern for staff and the requests, because the fear is this being unstable and the structure causing erosion control problems downstream, and also a safety hazard for the applicant should that hillside get inundated with lots of water or saturated and destabilization, and the residents becoming very unstable. And that's a care that staff had for this application. And not to mention that this structure is seen from multiple areas and would stick out like a sore thumb from State Road 76 and Juan Medina Road. And that was another concern staff really had. That's why we recommended denial in a lower location.
Thank you, Mr. Lovato.
Any other questions of staff from any commissioners? Thanks very much, David. So applicant, if you'd like to come up and make a presentation, respond to questions, please be sworn in.
Yes, I do. Yes, my address is 370 County Road 59, Velarde. So I guess I'm chairman of the board, commissioners. My name is Benny Martinez again, and I am a brother to Nancy Martinez Kraft. And Nancy, since college, moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and she's the sole inheritance of that property that was my father's. So she has, paid taxes, maintained it since probably the 80s. And my father passed away in 2000, and she held on to this property as long as she could. Obviously, she's older than I am, and it's time to move on and sell the property. So she started trying to initiate getting a representative to sell the property to, a realtor. And at the time, this is several years ago, 5 years or so ago, she had a potential buyer, and they wanted power on the property. So she went to the Hemis Electric Co-op up in Hernandez, and, her working with them, they told her, they went and did a site visit to the area, and they told her this is the best place for power. It was on top of that ridgetop hill, and they told her, we're going to need for you to level the area. It's it's not that big of a hill. It's about 15 feet higher than what already was. So she got a contractor. They came and did a little road, and while they were up there, she had him flatten the whole area, which is approximately 100 feet by 100 feet, that gave Hemis enough room to drive in, turn around, put a power pole. Granted, she is from Phoenix. She knew no rules of Santa Fe County and was not aware of, she was just trying to sell the property. So they came in, did the earthwork. It was all done to code. The driveway up there met Santa Fe County regulations. It was leveled, no permit granted, and that's around when the time where Mr. Lovato and other people got involved, Dominic, Mr. Cineros, in Santa Fe County. At that point is when I got involved as well. And again, I am a licensed civil engineer, state of New Mexico. And if there's any questions regarding the drainage that Mr. Lovato talked about, I could definitely, I am a professional, that's what I do. I worked at NMDOT for 25 years, retired. I am a consultant now on my own. I am licensed in New Mexico and Colorado. But anyway, back to what we were getting at. So through Nancy Martinez, the owner, we put compost socks for drainage throughout the whole property. We did steep slope seeding. We've done all the necessary or proper things that are done for that area to prevent erosion. And Johnny's correct. A lot of the seeding has not taken, but it's only because it rains when it rains and nothing's going to grow unless it rains. We can't water it because, I mean, you need water. On the property, one other thing that John was saying, there's like a lower level. I wasn't looking at the maps, but there's a lower level right next to the proposed area. That lower level, the reason why it was bladed and graded, several years prior to this, Santa Fe County approved of a water tank for the Chimayo community. It's a huge, huge tank. They did earthwork and they did all kinds of stuff. Well, part of the property to get to that water tank where they were going to place it was Nancy Martinez's property. She gave the Chimayo Water Association an easement to go through her property because the road pretty much cut through her property. She gave them an easement from the road to the top of the hill where they put the tank, which was higher, sits higher than the property that we're in question anyway. So anyway, she allowed him to do that. And in doing that, the Water Association, the contractor, bladed a portion of Nancy's property, and they did push some of the earth, but that was the Water Association deal. So this is years later where Nancy came and she needed to put power on the property, and it's on that next level. I'm sure you guys see the pictures. It's that little piece on top. It's 100 feet by 100 feet. That's the area that we're asking for a variance to build. The reason why we want to build there, yes, it's 12 acres. It's a lot of property. But unless you live there, from that, where the top property is, if you go southbound on that hill, it goes down. From there for about 200 feet or so, it's not paved. It's not paved because the runoff from the water from the tank area comes down and goes through the road, and it's a muddy mess. It's very difficult to get through it. On the other area to go through, because the road goes through to the other end is maybe like 1,000 feet, which is even worse as far as mud because that's at the bottom of all the hill. So on a rainy season, you're going to need a four-wheel drive to get through the bottom to get up there. And if you go through the other side, you can get there, but it's muddy. The pavement ends right like at my sister's property on both sides. For whatever reason, Santa Fe County did not pave through. I mean, I know why the reason is because of the drainage from the top of the hill where the water tank's at. The best possible location for a structure is on that area that we're talking about. Anywhere on the bottom, one, you're going to have drainage issues if you live there. Second, there's an acequia that's going to go down there, so you're going to disturb, and the more property you disturb, the more water and flood that's going to go into the acequia to begin with. Yes, it is a little higher, and you can see, if you build a house there, you will see it. But because of that, on the proposal, we stated it would only be a one single-story home. And I am the engineer, so I did do the plans where it complies with all of Santa Fe County rules, regulations. And this is just for my sister to sell it. We're just asking for approval to place something. If she sells it, we can turn around and tell the realtor, yes, you can place a house. We don't even have a house to build yet. We're just asking for a buildable site. But anywhere on the bottom of the property, it's a mess. Now, neighbors, all the neighbors at one point, when we had when Hemis first put the power pole, they were in uproar. There was a couple of neighbors that did not like it. They felt that Nancy did something without advising them, which is true. They were correct. Since then, when we applied for this variance, we've had public information meetings up at the property. The neighbors that were concerned showed up. At the time of when they showed up, I'm going to say there was around 30 bags of trash. People use that area. It's 12 acres. And there's no neighbors. There's nothing around it. And people go up there and throw trash, literally dump loads of trash. So when we had that public information meeting, the neighbors show up and there's a pile of trash right there. And they're like, you know what, Mr. Martinez, I think we agree with you. We see trash here every week. There's trash. And I said, I know. And the only reason why I go and pick it up, I live in Velarde. My mom's still with us alive. She's 89 now. I go visit her every morning. And I go take a drive to the property and make sure that there's no trash. And when there is, I load up my truck and take it to the dump. And then I have to pay for it because, you can't just throw trash for free. And the neighbors, you know what the neighbors said? You know what, Mr. Martinez? I agree with you. I'd rather have a house there than trash. So if you look at all the papers, all the submittals, all the public meetings that we have, everything, there's nobody that complains anymore. They're all for it because they'd rather have somebody to watch the property than to watch trash, and we're not asking for, it's 12 acres. The water tank sits probably the height of this building on the south side of the property, and my sister's road goes to it, which she gave an easement. On the west side, there's a house owned by Julian Sandoval, which sits even higher than that. I mean, it's all within that area. Everything's, we're not creating anything different than what's already existing. We're not creating something like an eyesore, if you will. Will you see it from the road? Probably, but you can see the house and the water tank as well. It's not a big deal. Another thing, when my sister gave the Water Association permission, she literally gave him property for an easement, gave it, didn't even sell it, gave it to him. Part of their, not appreciation, but part of their payment to her or agreement, they actually put a water meter on the side of the property on my sister's that we're talking about that they bladed and the county approved. And that's where there's a water meter on the property already. And that's the same exact spot where the power pole's at, the electricity. There's power, there's water. The only thing we need is a septic system. I mean, now, yes, there are buildable areas on the bottom side. The problem is drainage. And any type of earthwork that's created downstairs, yes, it can be taken care of. The problem with that is, there's going to be runoff if you do that. Right now, the way the property was done back several years ago, the only thing that's been damaged through the last 4 years from that earthwork is the driveway going up. And the only reason why we don't repair the driveway is because people will go up there to drink and party and throw trash. So the road's a little not in great shape, but we don't repair it because we want to deter people from going up there. So all we're asking is for approval, the variance to build up there. We may or may not build right away, but all we want is a buildable site that's approved. So if she says, I have a piece of land, 12 acres, it's not, but for the most part, it's all on the bottom, bottom of a hill, and it's all due to drainage. And I mean, if you live there, you'll know what I'm talking about. I mean, you just go look at it. That's why the road's not paved. County itself determined that. And I do ask for your assistance in getting this approved. We've been going back and forth with the county. I do want to thank Mr. Cisneros and all the staff members for their assistance. They've helped me. We've been working hand in hand with them, and John Lovato also. They've all been helping. There was the initial problem was the earthwork done that HEMS requested. We've mitigated that. We made it right, and we continue to want to make it right, and that's why we're here. And I ask for your consideration to allow it. And if you have any questions for me, I can answer them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martinez. Commissioners, do you have questions? Commissioner Bruger.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Martinez. It's, as you are aware now, I believe restricting development on ridgetops, hilltops, is a major public policy issue, both in the county and the city. Commissioner Pava would know better than I that the city restrictions are probably even more pronounced than what the county has, but the county has it is pretty restricted to the point where if there are alternative building sites, maybe not as easy, but if they exist, then they need to be implemented. So my question to you, as a professional engineer,
yes, sir.
Can you construct a solution building on those lower sites, taking care of the drainage, taking care of the erosion? They may not be as good as sites, but could you make that work?
I mean, I think that there's 12 acres of property. I'm pretty sure you can build anywhere on that property. The problem is is it worth damaging the environment or the earth or the flooding or the acequias to all this new area to build in an area where you already have, the hillside was disturbed by mistake, if you will, but it's done. So yes, it was done by mistake. Ms. Martinez mitigated it, did, put it back in good shape. Now, do you want to go disturb another acre and start from scratch, or just this is already done, and it is the best site? Because if you build down there, then I'm hoping Santa Fe County is going to be involved, yes, through the permitting process, but also somebody's going to have to maintain that road because it is a county road. Right now, that portion isn't maintained. As a matter of fact, I know that from the top of hill where I'm talking down to the bottom on the I guess that's north side, that particular road, because of the drainage, the runoff, the road itself, Santa Fe County Road, the water has taken off so much dirt that Santa Fe County had to go in and bring fill material to build the road back up. The reason why they built it up is because there's a water line for community water that goes down the center of the road. And the water was getting, I think there was about a foot of cover over that pipe, the water line, for the whole community in Chimayo. So Santa Fe County had to go back and borrow material and bring the road back up, the fill, so that it doesn't go beyond the frost line. How do I know that? Because my brother Danny is also a mechanical engineer. He's retired from Los Alamos, and he's the president of the Water Association now. He got in there a couple of years ago. So the best place is where we're asking for a variance. There's issues. Now, if we build down there, then again, Santa Fe County would probably have to somehow maintain that road, whether they pave it. The only reason why, and the county can verify this or not, but the reason why that portion hasn't been paved, because that's the highest hill past the tank to the back, and the runoff from there runs through the road and just tears right down through it. If they pave it, they'd be blading it pretty much after every storm. So that portion is not maintained. I don't have photos, but I'm sure Mr. Lovato or David Reese or Dominic Cisneros can verify that that portion is not paved. And if they have a different reason, then I'd like to know it, but that's what I've been told. Are there other lots, other spots? Yes. Is it feasible? No. I mean, I'll give you one more story before I end this, and this is the truth. Back in 1985, when I was going to get married, my dad gave me that land for myself. He said, you can live in that property. If you can have this property free, it's yours, but you have to live here. I took my wife to go look at the property. It had rained. We could not get in. And she said, if you want to get married, we're not living here. Needless to say, that's how my sister inherited, and I live by my wife's parents up in La Canoa. And that's true. So,
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out this, this one picture on Exhibit E, and it is the build site 1, and it's the graded area with the vehicle. And has the county determined that was a buildable site? Obviously, it's graded and flat. Since it was graded on this property, why isn't that a buildable site?
which one? Which area?
The buildable site 1, the graded area with the vehicle on it.
Where David's truck is parked.
So that's not the graded area. So where the vehicle's shown, that is the more suitable site that's lower below the actual ridgetop that was graded. So that's the buildable site that's closer to the road, right across from the water tank.
Okay, and there is no drainage going through that property?
Well, just the drainage from the hill that we bladed and from the road down to it.
From the road going up to the water tank?
Yes, and yes, so I mean, it's not the worst site, but the ideal site's on top. That particular areas are on the same side. The only problem with that one is right next to the road as well, and it gets drainage from the top and from the, I guess, west side, east side. Yes, that particular area was bladed by the contractor, approved by Santa Fe County. When my sister gave him an easement for the water, the contractor used that as their staging area for the tank. Yes. That's why that part was bladed, correct.
Well, yeah, I mean, there might be some drainage issues along the road, but this does not look like it is impacted by any drainage going through that property. I'm a hydrologist and deal a lot with erosion control. So I don't see that has been there for how long, this piece of property, graded?
That bottom piece has probably been there 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look like it has any water issue on it. But, I mean, I'd have to walk it.
Could I follow up on that with staff? Understanding, and David, you've been to the site, understanding that if the buildable site is where, I guess, your escape or your vehicle is parked, what are the setback requirements from the lot? Is that an issue? Because that is relatively close to El Potrero Road.
Mr. Commissioner, on that property that we talked about, I drew out, I'm thinking you have a copy of it. I drew out a 35-foot by 35-foot home, which is about 1,225 square feet, and I did it with 25-foot setbacks from all the corners. I also did a drawing that shows that that area still complies with the emergency vehicle code for Santa Fe County, and the grade of the road also complies with the minimum grades for Santa Fe County. So
but that's
everything
up on the flat. That's up on the flat.
On the
graded
top.
part.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, everything Everything that was proposed complies with Santa Fe County. Granted, you know, if and when a development would occur, we would have to go through all the application process, I mean, permits and, you know, this is just for approval to build. The maximum size of structure on that would be 35 by 35 square foot, and that would meet all the setback distances.
Okay. And David, just to ask, you know, so that is the suitable site, or that is the site that they're requesting a variance to build on. The suitable site that you circled, does that comply with setback requirements? It's a 25, is that right?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, so it is on French, which means it's 10-foot setback from the front and 25 from the side. So it would give him enough room.
10, so that's the front, since it's the street side, so, okay, thank you very
That's
much.
correct.
So
Commissioner
follow-up to that,
Trujillo?
So the setback is 25 feet?
10.
Oh, 10 feet, okay. And
On the particular hill, we allowed 25 feet.
No, but on the, where he circled as a possible suitable site,
Yes.
it's just 10 feet from the front of the property, and that seems to be the front of the property, yeah.
And so, Mr. Chairman and applicant, that section right there where the car is parked, what is approximately the dimensions of that, or the square area?
I did not measure that, but I would assume it's about 150 feet or so. Yeah. It's a little bit bigger than the top part.
Okay.
The only problem with that, again, is it's right next to the driveway, to the road. And, you know, if you have 12 acres, you don't want to put a home right next to the road.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, once again, I just gets to the point I was trying to make earlier as far as suitable. You have 12 acres of land, and now the only place they're recommending is put your home right up against the 10-foot setback that's up against the road. I mean,
Correct.
if I was the property owner, that wouldn't be suitable to me, but.
Well, and the problem with placing it on that property is the area that was earthwork was done on the area that we are proposing for a buildable site sits up about 10, 15 feet higher. So if we build on the bottom part, the drainage from that does go down. So, you know, you're going to have a problem if you build on the lower end.
So what's is that road dead end at the water tank?
No. What the water tank, on the top of the tank, it does dead end. But that road, I think it's County Road 94, if I'm correct, it actually loops around, and yeah, if you go north, well, let me see, like southbound, it comes out to the road that's right where the Santuario is at. It passes 2 cemeteries on the bottom of the hill, and if you go the other way, it's residential. Once you pass Nancy's property.
Okay, and the lot that you prefer has the best view.
That is
that's
correct.
Possible for them.
That is correct. Best view, and it's not even so much about the view, it's about all the drainage and, you know, problems that would occur as far as even drivable to try to get to that property. Anywhere on the bottom end, you're going to struggle going in and out if it rains. Again, unless Santa Fe County goes in and paves it. But to pave it, they're going to have to create a lot of drainage structures, and I don't think they've done it because you would need easements from the people that own the property on both sides to put drainage in, and then they're going to want to know where you're going to send the water to, and I think the best solution that the county has done is left it alone, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pava.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, just before Mr. Pava, I do want to let you know that the SLDC does allow for the land use administrator to go down to a minimum of 5 feet. It states that in cases where setback requirements prohibit development of a legal lot of record, the administrator may allow the reduction of a setback prohibiting development to a minimum of 5 feet. So that front property line setback could possibly go down to 5 feet.
Understood. Thank you. Commissioner Pava?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for Mr. Martinez. The power pole seems to have some kind of an antenna on it. Do you know what that is?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
The power pole has some form of an antenna on the top. Do you know what that is?
I'm not sure what
Not
the,
a cellular,
no, there's that part, honestly, I have not noticed that. The power pole was initially placed on the top of the hill, where we're proposing for a buildable area.
okay.
And through the discussions with the planning zoning, this is back several years ago, they requested that we move the pole to the bottom so that it won't be an eyesore, if you will.
Okay.
So my sister agreed, said, you know what, that's fine. We'll move it to the bottom. So she paid Hemis to go back and relocate it. Now, as far as what that antenna is, I hadn't even noticed it. So I'm not positive.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I can definitely find out. But
No, I just.
it's
curious.
not for.
I would think
I
that.
have no idea. That's a Hemis.
Yeah,
issue.
typically you'll see telecommunications on water towers, as a matter of fact. And I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
see any on
that's-
the water tower. So my follow-up question for staff, with your familiarity of the area around Chimayo, are there conservation easements? I mean, this is a well-known historic area. I'm wondering if you have knowledge of folks, or Mr. Martinez, as a matter of fact, since you're a long time, you grew up there and you know the area. I'm wondering, to preserve these landscapes, they're unique with the barrancas and the valleys and the acequias and all of that. Anybody aware of there being conservation easements or programs to set aside these landscapes instead? I mean, you're going to get 12 acres and you're going to build on maybe 10,000 square feet, a quarter of an acre's worth. And that does mean that the land will be preserved. But I'm just interested if anybody knows. You get the gist of my question?
As far as I'm concerned, I am not aware of any type of laws or conservation rules that exist in that area.
Mr. Chair, Commission members, yeah, I'm not aware of any conservation easements either. I can tell you that there is an acequia on the, I believe, like the northern part of the lot or beyond that. And just kind of a little bit of history. I was the code enforcement officer at the time that went out to the call, and there were some concerns at the time, and one of them was from the acequia and some neighboring properties. But since then, I don't think anyone has addressed any concerns, or at least they haven't, provided staff with any.
Okay, that's just for some context, to try to determine how to treat this variance request. I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners for the applicant?
Yeah. Just
Commi-
general,
Commissioner La Cruz Crawford.
yes, just general comments. I mean, I think that what a couple people here had noted and what staff had mentioned as well is that there are at least some buildable sites that were available that you didn't need to necessarily cut and grade a ridge top for, like that front side. And like Commissioner Trujillo mentioned, maybe it's not ideal to put a house right up next to a road, but, some people
Right.
even like that, so I do think you had a buildable site there. And I guess my comments generally, because I've been just kind of hearing your presentation, which I appreciate, but some of the things that you mentioned, were kind of the reasons behind you doing this. And then also you mentioned, hey, your sister was just trying to sell the lot, right?
Correct.
And another thing you mentioned was, hey, why disturb another place when it's already been disturbed? This ridge top's already been disturbed, so let's not affect any other, place on this site, right? But to me, it's like a little contradictory, because it's like grading and cutting and doing all that earthwork up on the ridge was more costly, right? If you're looking to just sell the property,
Yes.
then why not put it on the lot that's
No.
available, on the flat area that's available right there?
So,
right?
so you are correct with what you're stating. But what happened here, the initial process was when My sister was trying to initially sell the property, and Hemes Electric Co-op directed her to do what she did. She had no clue, no idea, and yes, she did it. She thought she was doing okay as far as what they told her. She didn't know. And after what was done, after she took the direction from Hemes and we got involved with Santa Fe County, it was like opened up a can of worms. Since that day, through Nancy Martinez, we have done everything that the Santa Fe County has requested. We have worked hand in hand with Mr. Lovato, Mr. Cisneros, with Mr. Reese. Before that was Mr. Kavanaugh, Paul Kavanaugh. Everything that they've requested from her, we have done. Everything. And as I've stated before, anything that is requested from us, we will do. Whether it's engineering, or it's earthwork, whatever you guys want. We just want this. We are asking for this variance to be allowed so that she can move on. And my mother's 89 years old. She's going to be needing home health care soon. And, we're hoping that if we get this property sold, we can take care of her. But that's just a wish. We don't know what's going to happen.
No, I appreciate that. I think, I totally get it, I mean, I think whenever you get into this situation, of course, you're going to be working with the county, right? Because you're going to have to try and
Yes, sir.
work with them as much as you can, try and get it worked out. But yeah, no, it's just, I'm just trying to think about this and stuff, because like I said, it seems like there's still areas where that are buildable, as opposed to the ridge top, and I guess it's kind of unfortunate. This is like an after-the-fact scenario, right?
Yes.
Like you already kind of destroyed
Exactly.
a landscape.
Again, there are areas that we could possibly build, but then we'd be disturbing property again, and we don't have to do that anymore. I mean, it was done by mistake, if you will, by accident. We take full blame. My sister takes full blame. But we can't change that. It happened. We've done everything to fix what we did. What she did, we've done everything, and we've worked hand in hand with the county, and we'll continue to work. I am a civil engineer, and I work with them, a daily, weekly basis, monthly basis. We work good together. This is just unfortunate that it happened the way it did. But because of what happened, I don't think it's advantageous to the county, to her, to the environment, to disturb more property. What's done is done. It's better to utilize what's already there and move forward. And that's where we request a variance. And I thank you.
Thanks very much. Oh, one more question from Commissioner?
Sorry. Have you stabilized the toe of the slope there from the fill?
That is correct.
Okay.
So since this thing happened several years ago, I have gone, pretty much I go once a week to that property. The only drainage that comes from that hill, from that buildable area that we're requesting for, variance, the only place that the water has gone that has damaged anything is the driveway that goes up the hill. That's the only place on the south side, or north, I'm sorry, the north side, where it's the steepest, a 30% slope. On that whole side, there's about a 2-foot berm that, for whatever reason, the dozer guy left. But because he left that 2-foot berm on that north side, no water has run off on that side towards the acequia, towards that whole area. All the water runs down the road and down into that area, which is the proposed buildable area from the county. It goes down the road into that area.
So from the site, when he graded it, he pushed the fill over to the
The
other
steep
side.
side,
Right,
correct.
that's what's eroding. I can
No,
see it.
nothing, no.
I'm looking at it.
I mean,
There's a little bit of gullies coming from that.
there may be gullies, but the gullies are there from the slope itself. Nothing is running from the top down. I can assure you that. And I think so can the county, because they have been out there to see it. There is a berm on that whole side, and there is no way water will run from the top down. It hasn't happened. I know for a fact, and I'm sure they can contest you that because they've been out there. The drainage has gone on the road, though the road is damaged.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks very much. Any other questions from commissioners?
So,
Commissioner Trujillo?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Martinez, so the water tank is is that towards the north, south? of
South
you?
side.
South side, and that's of a
Correct.
higher topography.
It's
Yeah.
a lot higher than this building, correct?
Okay, and then to the east side, the topography of this land that's not your land, that's somebody or the neighbor.
Yes,
The topography of that is higher?
no, the highest place is where my sister's property, where the proposed area is the highest, and then if you go to south, that's where the water tank, that's even higher up. I mean, I'm talking probably 100 feet higher.
Okay,
And then if you go, let me see, to the east side, there's the arroyo, and then there's a house on the top, that's Sandoval. And then if you face north, that's the valley of Chimayo. That's all down.
okay. So to help me understand this, then facing towards the west is the valley, and then around you from the south to the east and stuff is still higher elevation.
Yes, from the water tank behind is the hill. And then if you look, let me see, like northeast, that's like behind the Santuario. You know where the Santuario in
Yes,
Chimayo is
yes,
at?
yes.
Those are the hills back there. They're, they're very high. But I mean, they're far away, but they're higher. The immediate height of the hills are right behind the tank. And then to the opposite side is the valley of Chimayo. And then, of course, all that property, the 12 acres in the base.
Okay.
Do you know what the average slope is?
I'm sorry?
The average slope
The average slope of the,
of the surrounding areas, is it over 30% slope?
on the north side, I would say yes. On the north side, yes. And that's why we're here. If it was not over 30%, then it would not even require a variance. But on the north side, it is.
Yeah, that section of land that was graded was previously 30% that they cut.
But I can assure you that no drainage from that area that is graded goes down that slope. I can assure you of that. Now, I mean, if it rains a lot, it is a long slope, so I'm not saying if it rains a lot, water's not going to go down it, because that's the water accumulated by the slope itself. But from the top, nothing drains down. And it has not drained down since it was done.
Commissioner Bruger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question, comments more of staff, if I may. Am I correct in reading the code that the prohibiting development on hilltops is a fundamental policy, that unless there are absolutely no other options on a tract, that it shall not be allowed? If I understand your testimony, Mr. Martinez, there are other options. They are not as favorable to your client, but there are other options. You don't need to elaborate on that, but am I correct in that assessment, staff?
Chair, Planning Commission Member Bruger, that is correct. If there are no other buildable areas on the site, we would allow a ridgetop development. Those are, very rare occasions. You see a lot of that, like up in the summit, up in the higher areas where they're just totally surrounded by 30% slopes and shoulders. And so, yes, that is correct. If there is no other buildable area, we would allow ridgetop development. But then again, in instances like this, we would require or recommend the more suitable areas that are lower and not on top of a ridge.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman, just one more thing that I'll mention.
Sure.
when he's referring to suitable area, that doesn't imply that it's the best location as an owner. If any one of us would build a house, yes, this might be a most suitable area, but it's not necessarily the best because of the issues. And to me, my main concern is drainage and the mud up there. When it rains, you know, it's going to get bad. It has. That's why I didn't live there. And the best suitable location due to the elements that surround that property is where we are requesting for the variance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone online interested in speaking for or against this application?
Chair, commission members, there is nobody online wishing to, or at least identifying that they wish to speak on this matter.
Okay, so then we open and close the public hearing.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more question to staff?
Yes, please do.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, so, you know, as I drive down the Santa Fe to Poaca and I see those homes that are constructed by the Opera that are way on top over there, is that, they got permits because of, there was no other suitable area on those lots? Is that how that worked?
Well, there could be different, reasons for those, for the development. Those could be, they may have obtained variances themselves. They may not have disturbed 30% slopes or, built on top of a ridge top. Those may have been built on more suitable areas. It's hard to say exactly without pinpointing exact sites.
So, Mr. Chairman, back to Mr. Brugger's comment about the code, is that there could have been variances that were allowed for those sites then. Is that what I understand it to be?
It's possible.
Chair and commissioners, I would add it is hard to speak about hypotheticals and, without redoing the research, but I would also point out that the code language is actually not the word suitable. It is the word that there are no other buildable areas on the site. It is, if we, the word suitable, speaking to a property owner's preference, any property owner might want to build on top of, a ridge for the views or for any other reason. And if we begin to go down the slippery slope of granting variances, that may go against the intent of the code and why the Board of County Commissioners adopted rules that state don't build on a ridge unless there's no buildable area.
And I might add, Commissioner Trujillo, that some Monte Serrano, for example, that's in city, not county. A lot of the ridge development there is city, and it's a slightly different requirement. Commissioner Brugger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just feel compelled to respond to Commissioner Trujillo, if I may. There are quite a few homes on ridge tops, and if my understanding of history is correct, one of the reasons that the city did a hillside development ordinance and the county did this ordinance is to keep that from happening in the future. So citing that as something which is a precedent which should induce us to allow more doesn't, at least to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions of staff from commissioners? What's the will of the commission? Commissioner Brugger.
Mr. Chair, I would move to, for case number 255200, to deny the variance request.
We have a motion for denial. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for denial. So let's have a roll call vote, please. And yes means the variance is denied.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes. So the variance request has been denied. Thank you. Next item is petitions from the floor. I can't see any petitioners on the floor. Matters from the commission. I just want to note, when I logged into this computer, I opened the county's webpage to get to the agenda, and I noticed the scam alert, and I just cannot believe that someone would say that you need to send money to, who is the money supposed to go to for this, these fake planning commission invoices? I didn't understand it. It's pretty funny. So the only thing I would, I understand, I can see that on the county's webpage, in addition to this bright red scam alert, there is the commercial solar link is back up there again, and if you follow that link, the application has been submitted, and I'm wondering if staff can tell us what's going on with that Globe Mallow solar storage application.
Yes, Chair, Planning Commission members. So it is under review. We are looking at a target date for March 12th for the hearing officer. And so Planning Commission, that would come the following month. We'd go in April and bring that forward. It did take some time for us to procure, the third-party consultants and subject matter experts, but we have done so, and they've have done their review, and so we are just finalizing some paperwork.
Thank you. And just to make sure that I don't look at things before I'm supposed to, should I stay away from this stuff until it is submitted to us the week before? Or what's the proper protocol for this kind of thing?
Well, I mean, it's all public record, but I think we would definitely, suggest to perhaps wait until everything's been posted on board docs.
Great, thank you very much. Anything else? Any other matters from any commissioners? Roger, do you have anything from the attorney?
No, nothing to bring before the commissioners tonight. Thank you.
And anything from staff?
No, nothing at all.
Great. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is March 19th, and we have a couple of items that we will be hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. There'll be, I believe, a couple cases that will be heard on the 19th.
Maybe the double-tabled one will come back to life, or?
We'll see.
Great. Please. Mike?
So on this last, so we denied it. I mean, he's got appeal. But if it's denied, the area that he disturbed, will he be required to stabilize that completely?
So he did obtain a permit for the grading disturbance. It was an after-the-fact permit. And there were conditions of approval on there for him to stabilize, and reseed. It's not clear, according to John in his site visit, that some of the seeding obviously didn't take, and there's some erosion that we can tell, even some site photos. But with his denial, he wouldn't be required, unless there was some more damage done to the property, he wouldn't be required to obtain any additional permits.
Okay, because yeah, it's definitely eroding from the fill, on the fill area where they pushed it over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we may, be a little bit more proactive and go out there and, try and, see what he can do to better fix it. We haven't received any complaints, from any neighboring properties, but it's something that definitely could be looked at.
Yeah, because it's hard to revegetate. What I've seen in areas like this, you bring a water tank out, and you irrigate it until the vegetation's established, and then you're good to go. It's not impossible. It's
Definitely.
hard, but not impossible.
Definitely.
Thank you. May I get a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Pava, thank you for the motion to adjourn. May I get a second? Commissioner Bruger, thank you. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thanks.